Welcome, welcome. This is Errol Williams here for another Thursday night tips. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share with you a few tips really on how you can improve your life. In fact, I'll be focusing tonight on the subject entitled The Master Listener. So if you are interested in improving your listening skills, then you are at the right place. This is Errol Williams, and I will get started in just a few moments. Just want to make sure that everything is running okay and that you can actually hear me and see me correctly, whether you're at Facebook or whether you're at YouTube or on our local website. So just want to make sure that everything is okay. Just want to check that everything is okay. So how is everyone today? Hope everyone's okay. And welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Just want to make sure that my sound is okay. Hope everyone's okay. Yes, that sounds okay to me. So if you have any comments, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat room. Thank you everyone for joining me tonight. This is Errol Williams, and it's Thursday night. I share some tips on Thursday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Our Monday night Bible studies is from 9 o'clock to 10:30 on a Monday night. So every Thursday, I will be doing some tips. And if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to share those with me. If you see me looking to my right hand side, it's because I'm reading the actual information there. So I want to say welcome to Alison Ferguson. Great to have you guys. And I'm having trouble with my glasses as well. So welcome. June McKenzie, great to have you. Alex Hastings and others, pleased to see you guys. And you said, what software is this you are using, please? Yes. Aisha, yes. It's called Wirecast. Make a note of that. Wirecast. W-I-R-E-C-A-S-T. It's a powerful software. Actually, if you purchase it through my affiliate link, then I make some money. Isn't that cool? So I've been using this now actually for a number of years, and I could show you how it works. And it's really powerful. So you can go to YouTube as well and just do some, search on it. It's called Wirecast. So welcome everyone. Welcome Christopher and Shirley and everybody. Welcome. And also Sophie, you're over at YouTube. Sophie, if you want to actually join the Facebook link, then you can click the link at the bottom of the video. That takes you to Facebook. That's if you got a Facebook account. If not, you can stay right where you are. But I think I need to bring the screen closer to me, or else I'm going to lose out a lot of information. Oh, I think that's cool. Greetings, Junie. June is my PR director, and she's going to take me places. Isn't that cool, June? Hey. Welcome to everyone. Oh, Josh. Hey. Yeah. Sorry about Grandma. Looking forward to the funeral next week. I was speaking to your mom today, and I know everything is going to go great. Just praying for you guys and wishing you guys all the very best for next week. All right, then. Just going to share some tips with you, really. And if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate. Any questions really doesn't really matter. Any questions, could be in relationships or whatever. I don't mind. But just wanted to share some thoughts with you. For those of you who don't know who I am, I just spend 2 minutes actually just introducing myself to you. Errol Ainsworth Williams. All my details are there. Well, let me just put my switcher on so I can go automatically. Right, so that's who I am, Errol Williams. Those are my details. You can always come back in the videos if I go too fast. I only want to spend around 2 minutes on myself. I'm a family man, happily married with 6 children and 6 grandchildren, in fact. So I'm quite pleased about that. I've been involved in the community now for over 37 years, 25 years in the prison. Senior pastor for 15 years and been teaching systematic theology for a very long time. I was, in fact, involved in this community project many, many years ago. You can see Prince Charles over there. And to my right, that's the Atumfu Ozzy Tutu, my good friend. He is the king of the Ashanti tribe in Ghana. He used to work for us. Can you believe that? And now he's a king. I've spent a lot of years in management, over 34 years in management training, trained thousands of people in those years. And these are some of the clients I've had the opportunity of working for. There's a lot more actually, but I've only just selected just these few, if you like, and really had a great time with those folks. And these are some of the courses I've taught. Listening skills is one of those. So this is one of the these are the courses I've taught over the years to a lot of different companies throughout this country, Europe, and also abroad. I've written 4 books. I'm on my 5th one at the moment. And as soon as that's finished, I'm going to start my 6th book. Right? Well, these are my interests. I used to be a professional bricklayer. Can you believe that? I'm a professional photographer. I play dominoes a lot, chess and backgammon. I normally play against other guys around the world in using software and so on. But my passion, if you like, is developing attitude, skills, and knowledge through learning. That's my passion. But tonight, I want to focus, if you like, on the master listener. Welcome, Sister Doran Thomas and April. Great to have you. Annaletta, welcome. Ezekiel, hey, my man, how you doing, sir? Ezekiel, oh man, long time we haven't spoken. We need to meet up sometime. Yeah, great to have you online with us. Appreciate you being here. All right, just share some thoughts with you guys. And, you know, if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to stop me and go from there. So my subject is a master listener. It's interesting, actually, when we talk about listening, is that we spend 60% of our time listening, and we only retain, according to research, around 25%. So I believe if we improve our listening skills, our ability to listen, then we can probably move that 25 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 55, 60 as best. So it's very important that we know how to listen and retain. It's interesting also when we listen through what we call filters. I call it viable culture. That's my easy way of remembering it. So when we're listening to other people, we are listening through these filters, and we get different understanding, obviously, because we have different filters, and these filters are very important to us, our values, things that we regard as very important to us. You might be a Christian, so you may have Christian values and so on. So you're listening through that particular filter, your intentions, things that you intend on doing and so on, your attitudes, your beliefs, your language, your expectation, and certainly also through your culture. So it's very important to bear that in mind, that when we're listening, we have filters. When we're listening to other people, they're also listening to us through their filters. I think this is one of the greatest tips I could ever share on listening, in fact, is that it's taken from the book of the Bible, actually, James 1:19, where it says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. So those of you who are Christian will probably be familiar with that verse. So listen more, speak less, and control your anger. And as I go through, you'll pick up on some of that as well. Yeah, memory. Yes, there are, in fact, as you mentioned about memory, there are 4 memory techniques, actually, that comes to mind quickly. You may want to make a note of this. I call it SARA, S-A-R-A. That's how I remember it. The first one is storytelling. Jesus was the master at that, you know, in terms of telling stories, parables. That's the way he taught during his time. And so stories is the most powerful memory technique there is out there anyway. The next one is what I call As I said, Sarah, acronyms. I use a lot of acronyms. So, for example, just go back here. Where you see viable, that's an acronym, okay? Where you use the first letter of each word to make another word. So that's what I call acronyms, all right? So that's another very powerful way of remembering. The third way is the one that we mostly use. Is called repetition. Repetition. So we repeat things. So in terms of, you know, remembering telephone numbers and so on, we use that type of system. And the fourth one and final one is what we call association. Association, where you associate things and link things. Now you may have to, I did a mega memory course to master that, but I hardly use it, which is the amazing thing about it. So those are the 4 memory techniques that I know of that's out there. Storytelling, Jesus' favorite, the most powerful, I believe. And then acronyms. I use acronyms a lot. My first book had 47 acronyms in it. That's the way I remember things. So I'm going to give you an acronym tonight as well. In fact, here's one. I call it vibe culture in terms of the filters that we use. So storytelling, acronyms, repetition. That's the one that most people use. And then the fourth one is association, where you associate things together. Now I can, for example, remember 100 things, maybe 1,000 if not, in order. And if you ask me what was the 987th one, I'll be able to tell you because of association. So very powerful techniques. And in fact, the course I did was called Mega Memory. So thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, Sarah is an acronym as well. In fact, quite a lot of acronyms out there. So one of my greatest tips I could share with you tonight is listen more, speak less, and control your anger. One of the highest form of respect that you can show to another person, I believe, is to listen to them, is to give them your undivided attention. This is one of the most really powerful way of showing respect to another person, is to listen to them. When you master listening, okay, when you master listening, and this is what I'm talking about here tonight, is that it will cause others to take a good look at themselves. If I remember later, I'll tell you 2 stories about that. You make friends very easily. Not only that, you save yourself a lot of stress. Here's another acronym I'm giving you. I'm giving you a lot of acronyms tonight. You will save yourself stress, time, energy, and money. You will feel powerful, self-controlled, and completely in charge. And not only that, you'll increase in knowledge, understanding, and also in wisdom if you actually master listening. And I want to give you 6 key things tonight that will enable you to do that. Here are some more things I believe that will help you. As you master listening, you become more compassionate toward others. You'll grow in confidence. You'll be respected and loved. And this is really true, actually, because you listen to people. Okay? You will also love to listen to others and find it easy to socialize as well as feel good about yourself. So here are some reasons I think that are good enough in order for us to actually master listening. And as I say, it's not very difficult to master, and I'll share these 6 points with you in a moment. There are 3 different kinds of listeners, all right? Passive, aggressive, and the assertive. Passive, aggressive, and assertive. Now, as I go through these 3 very, very quickly, you may want to ask yourself the question, which one do I fit into, all right? So let's look at the passive one first. Now, the passive listener, common phrase is, you're okay, I'm not okay. They sort of like give up very easily. They listen, but rarely talk. They don't get straight to the point. They beat around the bush a lot, feel sorry for themselves, deny their own feelings and so on, mumble and really make a lot of excuses. And when I ask yourself the question, do you fit within this particular, lifestyle, if you like, the passive person? Now let's look at the aggressive person. The aggressive person's common phrase is, I'm okay, you're not okay. They think that they're better than everybody else, all right? Always interrupting. They rarely listen, but they do quite a lot of talking, telling off other people, finding fault with them, making fun of other people, as well as criticizing other people, all right? They put other people down. You know, the most important person is themselves. And in terms of listening, they rarely listen. In fact, while you're talking, they're thinking about what they're going to say next. And that's really not really effective listening. All right. The assertive listener, on the other hand, is the person whose common phrase is, I'm okay, you're okay. They're very interested in other people. They like to put themselves in other people's position, to feel the way they feel, to look at things the way other people look at it. We call that empathy. All right. They negotiate and compromise. They come to a win-win situation rather than win-lose or lose-win. They want a win-win. They care much about themselves as they do about other people. Okay, they care about themselves as well as other people. They're very clear and direct and get very, very straight to the point. So the question you want to ask yourself is, where do I fit? You know, in these three kinds of listeners. Am I a passive listener? Am I an aggressive listener? Or am I an assertive listener? I love this actual verse, if you like, by King Solomon. Both points are the same points. Just that I've used two different Bible versions to bring out the points a lot more. And what he's saying is, let people finish speaking before you try to answer them. That way, you will not embarrass yourself and look foolish, right? Listen before you answer. If you don't, you're being stupid and insulting. And it's interesting, actually. I want you to actually just bear those 4 points in mind. That when you you know, don't listen to people properly, when you don't allow them to finish what they're saying, and you jump in and you know, try to finish off their statement and so on and so forth, you're really embarrassing yourself. You're looking rather very foolish. You're really being stupid and also very insulting. This is the point that King Solomon made. Welcome, Anthony Beeson. Welcome, long time. And Shane and Dolores, Josh Fisher, thank you for joining us. Marion Bush and Paige and Sharon, you're back. Good to see you. And Julian, welcome, welcome, guys. So when you're listening to someone, make absolutely certain that you listen to them. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. And I'm sure you already know how to do that. But I just want to make the point, you know, that Solomon is making here is, do not answer a person before you understand exactly what they are saying. Conscious listening leads to understanding. Okay, so let's now dive in and share with these 6 points with you. It forms the acronym LISTEN. So you don't want to lose this at all. Okay, I strongly recommend that you take a hold of these points and never lose them. Now, I did not make this acronym up myself. Someone else made it up. But the points I'm adding to it are my own points. Now, the first one is look interested. So let's deal with look interested first. Whenever you're looking interested, always give people your undivided attention. Cause them to think and to believe that what they are saying is the most important thing ever said on planet Earth. Give them your undivided attention. Maintain eye contact and make sure you give them some acknowledgement responses. So you may want to sit up, face the person, give them eye contact, all right? Look in their face if you like. And you may want to say things like, oh, I see. Really? You never. Said it again. And so you're giving them some acknowledgement responses to enable them to know that you're really interested. You're sitting up. You're looking in their face. You're not signing letters. You're not playing around with your phone and some social media site. You're not watching TV and you're not playing around with your computer, right? You have put everything to one side and you're giving that person your undivided attention. My friend, when you do that, people will open up to you and talk because they know that you respect them. What did I say earlier? The highest form of respect that you can show to another person is to listen to them. So by giving them your undivided attention, put away the phone. Let me say this again. Put away the phone. Turn off the TV. Move away from the computer. Turn and face the person. Look that person in the eye and give them some acknowledgement responses. That's tip number 1. I think that makes the point. I think I'm clear about that. All right, let's move on then. Inquire with question. That's tip number 2. The quality of your learning will be determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. Always remember this. Whenever you're in the presence of great people, don't talk, ask questions. Remember, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your learning. Like what Voltaire said, he says, judge a man not by his judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. The quality of the questions is really, really significant. So when you're listening to someone, you want to ask questions. Now, let me give you an example of this. Take a judge in a courtroom, right? A judge in a courtroom. And so when the case starts, the prosecution goes up, and what are they doing? They spend maybe the next 2-3 days, depending on the size of the case. They will spend 3 days doing what? Asking questions. 3 days or so asking questions. Then when the prosecution finished, then comes the defense. And what do? Asking questions. What are they trying to do? To get to the root of the matter. I want you to think of a tree, for example. All right? Think of a tree. The most important part of the tree is the root, not the fruit, right? The root. If you destroy the root of the tree, you destroy the tree. So whenever you're listening to someone, let's say there was a problem, for example, you want to make sure you get to the root of the matter. How are you going to get to the root of the matter? By asking questions. Never ever give an answer until you believe you've reached the root of the matter, and you get to the root by asking questions, questions, questions. Now you can ask open questions or closed questions. Open questions may start with, how are you today? How do you feel? Or why did you do that? Why did you feel that way? You know, things like that. Or you can ask closed questions like, what's your name? What did you do? And so on and so forth. And where are you going? And so on. Those may elicit sort of like, you know, short answers. So make sure when you're listening to someone, you're not interrupting the person when you ask question. If you stop them and then to make your point, then that might be seen as an interruption. But if you're asking questions, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Remember, questions enable you to get more information out of the person. Remember what I said earlier, conscious listening equals understanding. So you want to become a master or a mistress, whatever the case, word you want to use. You want to become a master at asking questions, 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 questions. Because questions will get you where you want to go. Welcome, Elaine. Welcome, welcome. Doreen, and is that Sean? Welcome, welcome to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So point number 2 is to inquire with questions. Ask lots of questions. Point number 3 is to stay on target. All right, you're listening to someone, you want to stay on target. So let's look at that one now. Do not allow yourself to be manipulated or sidetracked. All right, when you're actually talking to someone, it's your responsibility. See as your responsibility to stay on target. All right, to stay focused. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated or sidetracked. All right, stay focused. Discuss one thing at a time. Now, if while you're discussing something very important, someone comes up with something else, or the person comes up with something else, there's nothing wrong with that. You might want to decide to use the 3 N, N. You might want to discuss it now, you might want to discuss it next or later, or you might never discuss it. Does that make sense? It's either now, next, or never. You got that? Now, next, or never. So the point here is you're discussing something with your spouse or with your friend, and it's a very important thing. You want to stay in focus. You want to deal with this thing until it's completed, unless you choose to bring something else in. That's fine. It's entirely up to you. Okay, you can discuss more than one if you choose, but my advice would be to discuss one thing at a time, get that out of the way, and then move on. Now, have you ever been in a meeting where you're in this meeting, right? Maybe you're chairing the meeting or someone else is chairing the meeting, and guess what? In fact, you're discussing 2-3 things at the same time and no decision is made. It can be very frustrating, don't you think? So I strongly recommend that when you're listening to someone, you want to stay focused. You want to keep the subject matter at hand until you finish it. So I strongly recommend, don't allow yourself to be manipulated or sidetracked. Don't manipulate or sidetrack the other person. Stay focused. Deal with one thing at a time. But if something else comes up, 2 or 3 things, you can make a note of it, You can decide to deal with it now. You can deal with it next or later, or you can never deal with it. Maybe it's not important enough to deal with. So you don't want to waste any time with that. Jackie, welcome. Andre, welcome. Ah, is that my uncle? Uncle Williams. I think that's my uncle. Yeah. Welcome, Elaine Reed. Welcome, guys. So, remember that. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 is this, okay? Is to test your understanding. Give feedback. Test your understanding. This is so important, all right? So point number 4 is to test your understanding. You want to master listening. Point number 4 is to test your understanding or feedback. Let me use this triangle just to give an example. Now, communication is a 3-way process, right? Sender, receiver, and feedback. There is no way to guarantee 100% accuracy of what the sender sent to the receiver and what the receiver received from the sender unless there is feedback. You cannot guarantee 100% accuracy unless feedback is involved. So I remember I was talking about this in a train company many years ago. And one guy said, Errol, you're so right, because a train driver received some instructions. So the train driver was a receiver. Someone sent him some information and he didn't give no feedback. And he lost his job, he said, as a result of that, because the train was derailed. He didn't lose his job because the train was derailed. He lost his job, according to this guy, because he didn't give feedback. And it's a law within the train industry. When it comes to the drivers, they receive an instruction, there must be feedback. Now, what is the feedback stage in the education system? Well, feedback stage is examination, right? Okay, the teacher, the sender, the pupils, the receiver. How do they guarantee 100% accuracy? Well, examination. What's the examination stage, or what's the feedback stage within the business world? Well, in most cases, it's appraisal systems, all right? There may be other systems, but appraisal systems are used. And we spend millions and millions of pounds on both the appraisal system and examinations to make sure that the pupil and the employee understand what the sender sent and what they received was what they heard. So it's very important that you give feedback. Now, whether you're the listener or the speaker, always see as your responsibility to give feedback or to receive feedback. All right. So you might say something like this. You know, you're listening to someone, they're talking to you, and you might say, so what you're saying is, or if I understand you correctly, you're saying, and then you repeat what they're saying in your own words. Listen, when you do that, you're making it so easy for the other person to realize that you do understand. You do understand what I'm saying. All right. So you want to test your understanding. Why do you want to test your understanding? Because different words mean different things to different people. Now, Winston Churchill, in one of his books, said that during World War II, there was a big eruption between the British and the Americans over one word. And so what had actually happened was the Americans wrote a report and brought it to the British. And while the British and the Americans were in the meeting, the British said, we need to table this. And there was a big argument until later they both discovered that they were saying the same thing and wanted the same thing. You see, to the British, the word tabled means to put on the table right now for discussion. But to the Americans, the word tabled meant to put it into a drawer and forget about it. But what they didn't realize was that word meant different things to them. To the British, tabled meant discuss now. To the Americans, it means put in the drawer and deal with it later. So remember this, whenever you're communicating with other people, different words mean different things to different people. Always remember that. All right. Point number 5, evaluate the whole message. Wow, this is a big one actually. Now, research shows, all right, that when you are communicating with someone, there are 3 ways that people are picking up information. All right, so let me just make sure that you guys are with me. I'm going to ask you guys to type in either in YouTube or in Facebook and just type in for me, what are the 3 channels of communication? How do you understand when someone is speaking to you? What are the 3 ways? Okay, let me see you guys type it in for me. And then I will just get some water while you guys type that in for me. Let me see if you guys could help me out here. So you're listening to someone. How do you understand what they're saying? What are the channels through which you understand what they are saying? Just type in for me. Let me see what you guys have done. All right. Oh, June is saying hi to her mom. All right, no one's typed yet, or have you typed and I can't see it? Maybe I can't see what you guys have typed, and no problem. All right, let me help you guys out then. The 3 channels through which we communicate and how we understand each other are three ways. Okay, these are the 3 ways, that 3 elements of communication, 3 ways in which we communicate with each other. This is how we understand each other. We understand each other through the words they speak, through the tone of their voice, and through their body language. Now, what's interesting is that research have demonstrated. Hi, Sylvia. Welcome. Sophie. Oh, you're over eye contact. Okay. Yes, you're right, which is body language. Now, these are the 3 elements, all right, that we understand each other when we're in a face-to-face conversation. So it's words, all right, then there is tone of voice, and then there is body language. Research goes on to show that body language gives 55% of the information. So when you're listening to somebody, right, 55% of what you understand is through their body language. Let me say this again. When you're listening to someone, all right, 55% of what you understood from the other person was through their body language. 38% was through their tone of voice, the way they said what they said. And only 7% of your understanding was through the words. Therefore, 93% of what you understood from what the other person was communicating to you was done subconsciously, was done through your body language. Isn't that amazing? Your tone of voice and your body language. That means to say that a lot of us don't pay attention to what our body is saying or to what our tone of voice is saying. The way you say what you say is so powerful. It's 38%. Your body language, the way you sit, your facial expression, your gesture, your posture, and so on, is a lot more powerful in communicating to the other person than the actual words. Let me not go as fast as I can here. I just want to say to you that it's important that you observe your own body language. This is really, really important. I really want to emphasize that as much as possible before I even move on. So I want to say welcome to all you guys. Great to have you guys. Thank you so much for coming online. Great to see you guys. And those of you also who are at YouTube, and those of you that may be at the website at cogop.com, do appreciate you guys lots. And don't forget, guys, if you have any questions for me, I will be more than happy to address any question that you have. It doesn't even have to be on listening. But I just want you to know and understand quite clearly that your body is always talking. Your body is always talking. All right? Not just your words, but your tone of voice and your body language. Okay? Your body language is the most powerful communicator that you have. Then your tone of voice, then your words. So this is what's so important, because oftentimes when I'm communicating with somebody, I've got to figure out what are they understanding from what I'm saying. What are they understanding from the tone of voice I'm using? What are they understanding from my mouth? So whenever you're on the phone now I want you to notice the statistics change. And so it's 84% is the tone of voice. So when you're on the phone and you can't see the person, the communication goes up in terms of your tone of voice to 84%, and your words is 14%. Okay, this is communicating on the phone. Therefore, let's just have a look therefore then at the 93%. All right, the 93% that you need to watch of the other person, as well as yourself, your mouth, your facial expression. Are you smiling? Are you, are you really upset, type of thing? How is your appearance? Always remember, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, especially if you went, for example, on an interview. All right, you went on an interview and you were dressed very scruffy. Listen, it's not going to work, right? So your appearance is very, very important. We always say never judge a book by the cover, right? Hey, that's so wrong. We always judge a book by the cover. That's why authors spend more time on the book cover oftentimes than they do on the content of the book. Sometimes we spend more money on the front of the book, the cover of the book, and the back of the book, more than the inside. You know why? Because we have studied the way people go into bookstores and pick up books. Well, people don't buy books in bookstores hardly anymore, but we have studied. So what people do, I used to run a bookshop and we used to watch people, right? So they'll pick up the book and they will look at the front cover first. And if they are very happy with that and pleased with that, they will look on the back. That's exactly what happened. And they look at the back. And when they turn it back around, they open the front page. And that's it. That's just the way it works, all right? So that's why a lot of time is spent on studying the behavior of people, and therefore, spend more time on the cover and the back. Your gesture, the movement of your hands, all right, is very, very important. Always let your hands support what you're saying. Your posture, your whole body. Are you sitting up? Are you slouching? Imagine, for example, okay, you're talking to your friend, right? And you're telling your friend that, your mother died, or your grandmother died, or your brother died. And while you're telling your friend is kind of slouched back in the chair. Doesn't that send a signal to you that maybe he's not interested? I mean, as an example. So what I'm saying here is it's very, very important for us to understand that your body language is very, very important. Your voice, as I said before, plays 38%. And RSVP stands for the rhythm, the speed, the volume, and the pitch. So you want to make sure you master your rhythm, the speed, the volume, and the pitch. And your eyes. If, for example, you're talking to somebody and they're looking up, or they're looking down, or they're looking sideways, it kind of sends signal to you that maybe they're not with you, or maybe they're shy, or whatever the case is. So you want to be careful of the directions of your eyes. Welcome, Alex. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Sylvia. Hey, great to have you, Sylvia, online. Great to have you. Your daughter is great, She's helped me a great deal, and so I want to say thank you, June. All right, so let's evaluate now. What I'm about to share with you, number 6, all right, is what I believe is the hardest thing on planet Earth to do. I think that, sending man to the moon and making mobile phones and computers and so on, we have mastered those things. But this, I believe, is the hardest thing on planet Earth to do when listening, is to neutralize or control our feelings. Now, neutralize and control your feelings. This is probably, as I said, the hardest thing on planet Earth to do. To me, I mean, it is so, so difficult. Have you mastered your own feelings yet? I mean, how long have you been on the earth now? Maybe you're 40, maybe you're 30, maybe you're 25, maybe you're 50. Have you mastered your feelings? If you cannot control your anger, Solomon says, you're as helpless as a city without walls, open to attack. I want you to think for a moment. Think with me for a moment. Let's say the city of London. Let's use London for a moment. Let's say tonight it was broadcast that there is no police in the city. There are no soldiers. There are no cameras. There are no defense systems. There are no one watching. There is no one whatsoever. The city of London is left bare open. What do you think will happen by tomorrow morning? You're absolutely correct. It will be completely vandalized. Why? Because there's no security system. There's no defense. Well, many of us human beings are like that. We have no defense system set up. So anyone can walk through our lives and walk through our mind with their dirty shoes. That's the way I like to put it. They, walk through our mind and leave their junk and their garbage and their filth in our head. Hey, don't allow people to walk through your mind with their dirty shoes. I hope you get my drift. All right? Don't allow people to walk through your mind with their dirty shoes. All right? All right, let me just go back. Let me just say again. I think I don't want to skip this one too quickly because it is too important, I think, thing to just rush over, because many of us have not yet mastered, ourselves. One of the things I said to myself many years ago is that I'm going to try my best to master Errol Williams. I'm going to try my best to make sure that I'm not affected, my thoughts are not affected by what people think, say, or do, and so on. So I strongly recommend actually that you are very, very careful in how you think in regards to what people think, say, and do, because you'll only destroy yourself, okay? If you cannot control your anger, or you cannot control yourself, you cannot control your feelings, then you're going to be left for people's abuse. And people, if they can abuse you, they will. If they can walk over you, they will. All right? So bear that in mind. So here are my 6 mnemonics. Look interested. Make sure you stay focused. Make sure that you're showing to the other person that you're really, really listening. Remember I said that before. Ask lots of questions. The quality of your learning will be determined by the quality of the questions you ask. Stay on target. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated or sidetracked. Test your understanding. Always remember that feedback is important. Ask for it or give it. Evaluate the whole message in terms of your body language, your tone of voice, and the words. Make sure you are observing your own body language, tone, and words. Listen to yourself as you talk, and obviously listen to the other person. And remember, neutralize and control your feelings. Now, let me share with you now, very quickly, the 7 big barriers to listening. This is it. I mean, normally when I run this course, right, to companies, and I would say to them, what are the barriers to listening? And they would, go away and they'd come back in 4 groups of so. And normally they will end up with around 20, 29, 30 different things that are the barriers. Listen, well, I have learned over the years, the last 30 odd years, to group them into just 7. So here are my 7. All right, here's my complete list, and I call it Are You? Right. One of the biggest barriers to listening is assumptions. And if you make assumptions, you're going to make an ass out of you and me. All right, so don't assume. You might start off with an assumption, but you don't want to make a decision based upon assumption. All right, so I strongly recommend that you clarify any assumptions that you may have, but don't make decisions based on assumption. Number 2, the roaming mind. Well, while you're listening to someone, all right, your mind is capable of 4 times the speed that they're speaking. And so what this does, because you've got that spare capacity, we tend to drift off, right? And our minds tends to roam off, and we think about the holiday that we are planning, or the one we just came off, or we think about the letter we got to write, or maybe someone we got to phone, or whatever. And so we are not really there with the person. When you're someone, this is something that someone shared with me many years ago. He said, when you're somewhere, be there. When you're somewhere, be there. Don't be somewhere else in your mind. Be there, all right? So the roaming mind. I remember one day I was teaching my children, and I have a daughter called Pepsi, and I noticed that she had drifted away mentally. So I said to her, Pepsi, where were you? She said, right here, Daddy. I said, no, Pepsi, where were you? She said, right here, Daddy. I said, no, Pepsi, where were you? She said, oh, I was at school, Daddy. Isn't it amazing that while you're listening to somebody, your mind could be somewhere else, right? Number 3, biggie, external and internal distraction. An external distraction is things like noise, all right? An external distraction could be that the room is, that you're in is smells, or is too hot, or is too cold. Anything externally that could distract you is a distraction. Internal distractions are things like your filters. We talked about those before. Your viable culture, you know, like your values. Are you with me? Your beliefs, your intentions, and so on. Internal distractions could also be tiredness, or, you know, toothache, or pain, or illness, headache. So you don't want to necessarily listen to very important information during, you know, times when you could be easily distracted. You may want to rearrange that time. Number 4 is your interpretation and distortion. Remember I spoke about earlier, different words mean different things to different people. So oftentimes people listen to what you're saying and they distort it, all right? And so on. So you want to make sure that you get that feedback we talked about earlier. Make sure you get feedback, or you give feedback. Oversensitivity. People become so easily angry. Listen, when you get angry, you stop effective listening. You stop effective communication from taking place. All right. We talked about earlier neutralizing and controlling our feelings. All right. Because sometimes some of us, become so irate. We become so oversensitive. We're so insensitive, and so on and so on, and so sensitive. So we oversensitivity. Okay. So I strongly recommend that you bear that in mind. Number 6 is unclear speaker. Oftentimes the person speaking is not speaking very clearly. They're beating around the bush and so on and so forth. Maybe English is not their first language, so we're going to have to be patient with people and so on. So the speaker needs to be very, very clear, because if the speaker is unclear, using words people don't understand, then it's going to make it very difficult. And finally, not forgiving the other person for what they've done, because it's very difficult to listen to somebody you don't like. Very, very difficult. All right. Bless Sean. Okay. Yes, we have, as June is pointing out, we have a Bible studies class tomorrow at our local church. So if you're around, you can most certainly come along to that. Right. So that was my thoughts to you on the 7 barriers to listening. Are you? So when you're listening to someone, it's good to stop. Just stop, pay attention, and make sure you listen, look interested, inquire with questions, stay on target, test your understanding, evaluate the message, and neutralize and control your feelings. So you make sure you stop and you listen. And what are you listening for? You're listening to make absolutely certain that you understand. Because it's pointless you making a decision until you have understood. Remember what Solomon says, he that answereth a matter before he hears it, he that speaks before they listen, is embarrassing, is insulting. You remember those words? All right, let me if you don't remember those words, here they are again. Listen before you answer. If you don't listen before you answer, you're embarrassing yourself. You're looking foolish. You're being stupid and insulted. Now, remember I said I was going to come back to a story. I got to tell you this story, okay? I was running a training course many years ago. And as I was running this training course, I asked the participant if there was anyone here that would like to do a role play with me, because I wanted that person to give me a tough time, a really hard time, a really difficult time. And then I'm going to demonstrate how to look interested, inquire with questions, stay on target, test your understanding, evaluate the message, and neutralize your feelings. There's around 30 people in the room, young people. And so I asked for a volunteer. No one would come. So most of the people in the room turned to a young lady and said, you go. Let's call her Sharon. I can't remember her name. So Sharon, you go. Because she was one of the most talkative and most loud person there was. And they felt she could give me a real tough time. And then Sharon said something I'll never forget. She said, I'm not doing nothing with Errol Williams because he makes me look stupid. And I thought to myself, she said the other day I made her look stupid. So I thought to myself, oh my goodness. And now I started to sweat a little bit because I'm now beginning to feel a little bit embarrassed because I didn't realize I'd made her look so stupid. She said, from her own words, I'm not doing anything with Errol Williams because he makes me look stupid the other day. And then she carried on. She didn't finish the sentence. She said, the other day I came into his office and behaving badly and he just sat there and listened to me. Oh my goodness, I could not believe what she said. She said the other day she came into my office behaving badly, swearing and behaving badly. And all I did was sat there and listen to her. And as a result of sitting there listening to her, she felt stupid. Now, let me go back to this because this is so powerful. She was embarrassing herself. She was looking foolish. She was being stupid and insulting because she was talking without listening. And I just sat and used my look interested, inquire with questions, stayed on target. I tested my understanding. I evaluated the message that I was picking up from her body language, tone of voice, and the words. And I neutralized and controlled my feeling. Though she was being very rude, I was very calm. And as a result of that, it made her took a good look at herself. Remember what I said as well at the beginning, is that it causes others, number one, it causes others to take a good look at themselves when you listen the way I'm suggesting. So, going back to this point, you want to make sure when you listen to someone, stop. Study to be quiet. And listen. Listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. Listen very carefully to what they have to say. Don't do anything else. Just listen. And what are you listening to do? To understand. I like what Stephen Covey said. Stephen Covey wrote a book. The 7 Habits of Effective People. And point number 4 was this, is that he says, seek first to understand other people before you try to get them to understand you. Let me say that again. He said, seek first to understand other people before you try to get them to understand you. That's a very powerful point. So you stop, you listen, and when you understand, then it's time to act. But you never act before you understand. And you seek understanding through listening. And you want to make absolutely certain that you do so. Now, let me share this quote with you. You may have seen these in the, just above your head in the profile section on YouTube. And I like these quotes. Simon Sinek, is a very powerful guy. These are very powerful people. He says, there's a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. And this is exactly what a lot of people do. They're not really listening, really, you know. Is that while you're talking, they're only thinking about what they're going to say next. When you think about what you're going to say next, when other people are talking, you're not listening. All right? Lao Tzu says, silence is a source of great strength. Wow. If you can keep quiet, despite what people are saying and doing, it's a great strength. Hank says, just because I did not do what you told me doesn't mean I wasn't listening to you. One of my daughters came to me one day and we were having a conversation. And she said, Daddy, you're not listening. You're just not listening. And I stopped and I said, can I ask you a question? And I said, do you mean I don't understand what you're saying, or do you mean that I'm not doing what you said? Which one is it? And she laughed because she knew full well that I understood. It's just that I didn't agree with her. Recently, someone told me that I'm very stubborn. So I said to the person, could you explain Why I'm stubborn. He said, "You never do as I tell you." Oh Lord, I had to smile about that one. That was really funny. All right, this is Cuban Proverb. Listening looks easy, but it's not simple. Every head is a word. Listen to this carefully. We hear with our ears, but we listen with our minds. Let me say this again. We hear with our ears, but we listen with our minds. Listening is hard work. And I strongly recommend, and I'm on a mission to say to the government, let listening skills be a major part of the curriculum in our schools, because I think that one of our big reasons for a lot of breakups and misunderstanding is ineffective listening. Man's inability to communicate is a result of his failure to listen effectively. This is Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers was one of the most powerful psychotherapists the world has ever known. If you ever have done sort of like counseling, you will definitely come across the name Carl Rogers. He was a powerful guy. Okay, so man's inability to communicate is a result of his failure to listen effectively. And I love what Winston Churchill says. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. All right. All right, guys. I want to say to Crash Bash, hey, welcome. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing really great. Thank you guys over at YouTube. Appreciate that very much. And I want to say thanks to those of you from Facebook who are here tonight. Really appreciate you guys being here. If you guys have any questions for me, please, please, please just type them into any of the chat room. There is a phone in actually. If anyone wants to pick up the phone and call me, I'm going to give you the number right now. And the number is, if anyone Okay, I think there was some sound going over there from, let me turn that off. Yeah, so if you call me now, you might not be able to call me then because something is going wrong with that channel. So you might not be able to call me, but you may be able to leave me a comment. Gwendolyn, welcome, welcome. Sylvia, welcome, Sylvia. If you have any questions for me, I don't have to go at 10. I normally leave at 10, but if you have any questions for me and you want me to stay a little longer, then I'm very happy to stay longer. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to address any questions that you may have, and we can address any questions that you have. Let me change my studio position. So if you have any questions for me, I will be more than happy to address any questions. Any questions whatsoever. Is it still echoing? I think it should have stopped by now. Position. So if you have any questions for me. Yeah, I think it's when I put another page up, it just echoes. Can you hear me now? Is it better now? Let me know if it's better now. I did something to repeat that. Let me know if it's okay now. Okay, thanks very much. I'm just reading something somebody's wrote here. All right, I think I can put this up. Let me see. Right, this is a comment I think from YouTube section. Yes, there is a big problem when I talk to certain people. It causes misunderstanding. Like you explain something well when the other think that you are doing something, but it's all misunderstanding. Right. Thanks for sharing that, Crash Bash. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, can I? My suggestion would be, I think it's there's a saying that says he or she that knows better should do better. Okay, that knows better do better. And I would strongly recommend that you use these 6 tips that I give consciously. So consciously practice them, even if you were to take one at a time. Say, start with look interested and just master that, and just try it out and see whether or not the same things do happen. Because oftentimes we can also cause a problem in the process. So we have to really study what are we doing to contribute to the misunderstanding, and how can I make sure in this situation that there is no misunderstanding. So for example, I might say to somebody, what do you understand from what I'm saying? So I've really asked them to explain to me what they think I've said. And when I listen to what they have to say, then it helps me to understand clearly whether they understood or whether they had misunderstood it. So I think I would strongly recommend that you use these 6 consciously, practice them over a period of time. That's what I did over the years, actually. When I studied these, I was in the same position as you. As I studied them, what I noticed was I got better and better and better. And as a result of that, there were less and less, misunderstanding between me and other people. So I strongly recommend that you master these 6 points. And also bear in mind as well, as I said before, bear in mind about the actual barriers that I mentioned before, that these barriers, you want to stay clear away from them and make absolutely certain that you don't make the mistake of falling in them. And I call it, are you listening? Are you and then listen, okay? Are you and then listen. So I call it, are you listening? So I recommend that. Try that, and hopefully that will help a great deal. I hope that makes sense. Alex, you said you sent me 3 questions. So let me see, sir. I must have missed them. Right. Errol, is taking notes while you are being spoken to considered to be rude? Right. Great point, Alex. It's not considered rude if you ask the permission of the person you're speaking to. So if you say to them, I'd like to make some note. Do you mind if I make some notes? And they said yes, then that's fine. You've sought permission and they've given you permission. So I strongly recommend that, you ask. I've been in situations where I wanted to make some notes And I asked the person, do you mind if I make notes? And they said, yeah. And it was great. Okay. Welcome, Keith. Keith, welcome. A very good analogy regarding dirty shoes. And yeah. You know, one of the things is, let's say, for example, okay, you're in your house, right? And somebody came into your front room and tipped a barrel of human excrement on your floor, right? What would you do? You probably chase that person down the road and call the police and sue them and all that kind of stuff, right? But we don't take it seriously when people try to dump rubbish in our head. You know what I mean? Foolishness. You hear what Proverb says? He says, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. Run. Go away from him. So don't put up with that foolishness. I refuse to listen to certain things. Alex, rewrite. This reminds me of holding a Okay. Let me know, Alex, if I've missed something. I'm trying to go back and things. No, it's a platform. Ask the question again. Ask the question again, Alex. I must have missed the question. No, it's certainly the forum for questions. So go ahead and ask the question again for me, Alex, and let me know. Let me go back into YouTube. I've even write some ideas like this to about listening and when to stop. Yeah. I think that one of the things that tends to happen when we are communicating is that sometimes we do get involved in some heated debate, some very heated debate. And there's a tendency to want to argue and so on. Well, you got to make a decision whether you're going to argue or not. I hate arguing. I really do. I just hate it. So I try to steer away from it as far as I can. I don't even argue with my wife. You ask my wife, I don't argue with her. I just ain't got the time, and I just don't like it. And so, I can't remember if there is a time that my wife and I ever lasted 2 days without us talking to each other I've known her now for nearly 40 years. And I don't know if there's a time that 2 days have gone by that we're not talking to each other. I can't remember that ever happening. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Next men's ministry meet. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for that question, Alex. And it's questions being asked a lot. I doubt very much if we're going to have one this year. I really doubt it very much. We were trying to see whether we could get one far away from the women later on, but there's too much happening, too much things going on. So we missed our slot, which is normally March, April. So I think it might be wise. I need to speak to Clive and the guys just to figure out whether we could do a 1 day or so. But it looks very difficult for us to have the retreat this year. It really looks difficult. And there were some issues actually. And, but I will speak to Bishop Ted as well and see where we go from there. But it's the place for the questions. That's fine. I like that. All right, guys, I want you to, if you're there, just to type in one thing that you'll take away from, if you were here throughout, one thing you'll take away from this session, one thing that really, hit you or really made, a good mark for you, one thing that you would share with us that you'll take away, just one thing, and love to hear from you guys on that. Listening is one of the skills that I learned first. It was one of the most important skill I ever learned. You're talking about back in 1984. I'll not forget the year, actually. It's around 34 years ago. And that I learned this, and I've taught it to thousands and thousands and thousands of people since. And I must say it's been one of the most important skill I've learned. And it was so very easy to master as well. Just 6 key things I had to really focus on. And I purposely went to town to actually make sure that I mastered it as much as I could. So I strongly recommend that you do the same. So let's share one thing with me before you guys go. One thing that you will take away from tonight's session, and that will enable me to Gwendolyn, thank you very much. I want to share with you just the one thing for me which was the most powerful, I think, and it's the one that took the most time. I think I said it before. It took the most time. It really took a lot of energy out of me, and I strongly recommend that you all, I'll come to that in a moment, focus on that as well. And Anthony, thank you for that. You mentioned body language, and as I said before, body language is really is an amazing thing. You know, I strongly recommend that, you know, we observe our body language as well as the body language of the other person, and make absolutely certain that our body language is sending the right signals, the right message, because 55% of what the other person heard was through your body language. Let me say it again. 55% of what the other person heard was through your body language. So imagine you're speaking to your spouse, right? Or imagine that the two of you are having a discussion. 55% of what you heard was through their body language, and 38% was through their tone of voice. That's really, that's something to bear in mind. The elderly have a lot of information to pass on to the younger generation. I am now 65. Do they have the time to listen? Well, interesting enough, Alex, let me put it this way. I would say that the young people today are interested in listening. I would strongly say that. However, we have to find a way of communicating to them that's different to how we may communicate to someone from your generation. We have to find a way to communicate to them. We have to communicate to them in the 21st century format. So young people are interested in listening. We can't give it to them long. We got to give it to them short and sweet, because there are so many other things fighting for their attention. There are more things fighting for their attention today than there were things fighting for my attention 50 years ago. 50 years have gone by. We're in a totally different age. Bearing in mind, today, we have the mobile phone and the internet. 30 years ago, we didn't have that. Are you with me? The internet, it was around 1984, so it's around 30 years ago. Around 1984, when it started to come into place, the mobile phone, the internet, the world started to change. So young people are willing to listen, but we're going to have to find a way of communicating to them that's suitable for them, and they will listen. But if we try to use systems of that they're not interested in, it's not going to work. So I strongly recommend we find ways to communicate to them. Sister Shares Christopher, welcome, welcome. Great to have you. Sister Shares does her own show as well. She a lot of healthy eating and other things she does. So great to have you. Greetings to you. So I want to say the young people will listen. One of the things I've discovered in our church is we are losing a lot of our young people, and I think it's interesting because when you go, there are some places that have figured out how to get to the young people. You mean? While we are over here complaining, oh, the young people, they're leaving, the young people are not interested. Well, when you go over to the other place, like Soul Survivor and some of those places, the young people are sitting there listening. They are so keen to understand and so on. So somebody has found a way to communicate to them. They listen. They certainly will, but not in the way we may want. So that's right. I've really enjoyed the session. The devil didn't. That's the reason for the disruption. Yeah, I like that point, Alex. I just want to make a comment on that. I heard a joke once. It's a joke, so I hope you guys can take this joke. I heard a joke once, and as I say, it's a joke, that this guy was coming to church, and he got to the church door, and the devil was outside the church crying. So he said, Satan, why are you out here crying? He said, all those Christians in there blaming me for everything. Isn't that so true? That we blame the devil for everything. We say it was the devil's fault, the devil this, the devil that, the devil made me late. For example, I never forget this actually. I think, Shez, you were there many years ago. I think we was doing a session with the youth and the young people, and someone says the reason why they were late because the devil made them late. And I says, really, was it the devil or was it that you got out of bed late? You go out of bed late. Sometimes we lie down in bed, right? And we wake up, right? And you were supposed to wake up at 6. That's the time the alarm should have gone off. But you woke up at 5:45 and you say, well, just 5 more minutes. And so it so happened that the 5 more minutes turned into an hour. So you go to work, you're late for work, and the boss asks you why you're late, and you says, well, the traffic. That's a lie, ain't it? It wasn't no traffic really, was it? It wasn't the traffic really. I got out of bed late, and we blame the devil. Look, you see, the devil made me late. The devil made me late. So that's a funny one. So the interesting thing about the devil is that he can't make you and I do anything. He tempts us. Satan is not that powerful, by the way. He's not that powerful to make us do things. He can't make us do anything. But he can tempt us and then we do it. So for example, this guy goes and steals something, right? Well, the devil tempted him, right? But who took it? Imagine going to court, right? I've never been to a court case and found that the judge was asking where was the devil. The judge never ever sentenced the devil, always sentenced the person who did the crime and sentenced them to prison and so on and so forth. So the devil, yes, he has a role to play because he does play a role, and his role is to tempt. The devil has never forced anyone to commit adultery or fornication or uncleanness or lasciviousness or variance or emulations or strife or wrath. He has never, ever, ever forced anyone to do those things because he can't. But he can tempt us, and that's what he does. I think it was Sister Shez Christopher's brother who preached a message some years ago. It was called, It's a Trap. Watch out. It's a trap, right? That's exactly what it is. It's definitely a trap. Listening and to learn, to understand, and eye contact, etc. Patience. James 1:19 says, let every man be swift to hear. Brother Eldon, welcome, welcome. Welcome, sir. It's interesting, actually, because the That James 1:19. Let me see if I can find listen more, speak less, control your anger, right? That was the point I was making earlier. This slide about neutralize and control your anger, your feelings. Well, here is the way to do it. Here is the way to control your feelings. Okay, let me give you this from this verse actually that we are reading. 1, 2. Okay. June, if you're still there, let me know if you can hear me. Not even sure. Let me know if you can hear me. 1, 2. I think that my sound. Randolph, welcome. Just want to know if you can hear me, June, because I want to make sure you can hear me. That my sound. Yes, it look like I'm back. Right, not sure what went wrong there. Not sure what went wrong, but it looks like when it's technology, anything can go. Anything can happen. Thank you, Sister Shaz. Not sure what went wrong, so I'm going to have to figure that out later. And I can't even remember where I was and what the point I was making. Let me turn this one off. Okay, alright, so I'm now on a different sound system here. Okay, so I'm using this one. Thank you, Junie. Thank you. Don't know if anyone has any questions for me before I go. I want to say thanks again for you guys staying up so late. It's now 10:30. I think next week I'll do something on relationships. Welcome, Keith Vassal. Thank you very much. I'm not sure what my normal sound has gone down, so I'm using another sound. It's good to have different sounds actually, but my normal sound has just died on me. Not sure why it did so, but good to have backup. Let me know if you have any questions for me. I was going to share with you the last point, which was the thing that I find to be the most challenging. And I think I've said it before actually, and I just wanted to reiterate it again. And these are the six points, or the 6 areas to master, to really focus on. For me, it's the last one, the neutralize or control your feelings, because you know, if you live long enough, you're gonna get hurt by other people, especially people close to you, people who you love. And there is a saying when we talk about relationships, is that the person who loves the most is going to end up being hurt the most. The person who doesn't love at all never get hurt because they don't love. So love, you've probably heard the phrase, love hurts, right? And the person who loves most hurt most. And the person who loves least, very little pain, if at all any, they experience. That's why you can hear about, you know, people from across the world who have died, you know, in some really unfortunate ways, and we're not even budged by it. We're not even affected by it. But when it's someone very close to us, it hurts. It's painful. It leads to tears and so on. So it's important, therefore, to bear in mind that if you live long enough, you're going to go through some real devastating circumstances, situations in life. And the thing that I have discovered is the hardest thing to master through these 6 has been, how do I neutralize? And I was saying before, I'm not sure how much you heard of what I said before in terms of looking at this particular scripture, is let every man be swift to hear. And if you want to be slow to wrath, then you're going to master this verse, but start with the first one and then work on the second one. So work on the fact that you are very quick to hear. When someone's speaking, you're slow to talk. Are you with me? You don't talk. You're quick to hear. You remember what I said before on this particular point is just stop and listen. Okay, stop and listen. That's it. Be quick to listen. Stop and listen. And while you're listening, you're seeking for understanding. That's the purpose here. Now, this is very hard to do, but I want to go back to these statements here. Point number 6, Winston Churchill says, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. And so you're going to have to follow that process. Stop, listen. Not easy, but it gets easier the more you do it, right? There are some people who are just natural listeners. They just master this. A lot of people have done that. You know, it's really easy to do after you've mastered it. Yes, Keith, love is long suffering. In fact, in 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4, it says love suffers long and is kind. And that is so true. And sometimes, you know, people walk over us. You know, they abuse us because we love them, and so on. So you just have to be extremely careful and wise. You know, we've got to use wisdom. Jesus, I like what Jesus said. He says, I send you as was it lambs among sheep, be as wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. So he was very clear in how he sent us out. Henry Green, welcome, sir, welcome. Great to have you, sir. Long time. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you. And so it's important for you to, yes, long suffering, but be wise as well, because there are people out there that will abuse you and take advantage of you. Even family, you know, people we love, they will abuse you and take advantage. I was making the point earlier, I don't know if you heard it, that the person who loves the most is the person who gets hurt the most. Let me say it again. The person who loves the most end up being hurt the most. Tutlin, welcome. Okay, so be very careful. All right, so you want to stop, you want to listen, you want to understand, and it is only at that point that you act. Again, I want to bear in mind that if you do not listen, or you talk before you listen, then you are embarrassing yourself. You're looking foolish. You're being stupid and insulting. Wow, that's strong from Solomon, isn't it? I think it's Proverbs 18:13, I think. Let me just check that. I think it's Proverbs. I think it's 18:13. Let me just check that. Proverbs 18. Yeah, I'm right. Proverbs 18:13. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. I must not forget this actually. You know, it is folly and shame unto him, unto me. Unto me. Yeah, folly and shame. Now there are some other versions. Let's have a look at this version. To give an answer before hearing it is a foolish thing and a cause of shame. All right, let's try another version. It is stupid and embarrassing to give an answer before you listen. Wow, that's a strong one, isn't it? That is a strong one. It is stupid and embarrassing to give an answer before you listen. Let's look at another one. Let people finish speaking before you try to answer them. That way you will not embarrass yourself and look foolish. So really, when I don't listen to my friend, hi Diana, welcome. Faye, welcome. When I don't listen to people, right, I'm being foolish and stupid and embarrassing myself and so on and so forth. Let's look at another version. If one gives an answer before he hears it, it is folly and shame. Let's look at the, if one gives an answer before he hears it, yes, same thing. Right, let's look at the Good News Bible. Listen before you answer. If you don't, you are being stupid and insulting. You see that? Wow. Listen before you answer. If you don't, you are being stupid and insulting. And the King James Version speaks about this parallel. Okay, leave that. Right, I don't think anybody has any questions for me. Don't forget, as I said, if you have any questions for me, it doesn't have to be on listening skills. It could be on anything else. It could even be a personal question on relationships or anything like that. You are able to do so. Go ahead and ask a question. I'm not going to bed for now anyway, so I'm cool. You can keep me up all night as well if you want. So go ahead and ask a question. Now I'll be only too delighted to answer you. If not, then I'm going to sign off. Unless somebody got a question for me. I want to say thanks to everyone from YouTube who came by. From YouTube. Thank you very much. And those of you from Facebook. I tried to get onto Periscope, but that didn't work. Run out of time. But yeah, thanks for dropping by. Right, nobody has a question for me, so I'm going to thank you, Sister Shaz, my good friend, and hope all is well. When are you doing your next show, Shaz? When are you doing your next show? And do you have the link for your show? Because you've been doing some excellent shows. Healthy eating, I think. And if you're looking for a solicitor, so June, now you have a question for me before I go. I want a question from June before I go. One question from June before I go. And then I will disappear. So I'm going to wait for June's question. So Shez, where's your link? Just put it in Facebook for me. Okay. All right, I'll let you off, June. I think you're tired, so I'm going to let you off. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. Really do appreciate it. Oh, what is a virtuous woman? Okay. I like that question. Proverbs 31, I think, is where it's taken from, verse 10. I think it's here. And if you look at the Strongs, or the word that was used, which is the Hebrew word, you will see here, it says probably a force, whether of men, means of other resources, an army, wealth, virtue, valor, strength, able, activity, army, band of men, all kind of stuff, valiant, valor, virtuous, war, worthy. Right, the best words that I would use of a virtuous woman, and in fact, you will see in a moment, is it's a woman of strength. That's the best word that I think I could find from it. And if you notice what has happened here, when the translators were translating it, they had this word to deal with. kahil. Kahil. That's the Hebrew word, right? And obviously we are taking Hebrew words, bringing them into English, right? So there are a variety of words that they could have used. They could have said a woman, a valiant woman. Who can find, go back to verse 10 here, who can find a valiant woman? Who can find a strong woman? Who can find a powerful woman? You with me? So the word virtue means strength. Now, let's go into that verse a little. Come down a bit. When you look through now, you will see what she was strong at, you know, and it tells you in terms of what she did. She looked after her home. She looked after her business. She wasn't a lazy woman. Good night, Keith. Thanks for dropping by. She's a woman of strength. She's a woman of power. And in fact, I love the bottom of the verse. The bottom of it, it says, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord. You see that? The whole verse is about the virtuous woman. Because, okay, let's start at verse 10. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? And then it tells you, the heart of her husband does safely trust her. She will do him good. She seeks wool. She's like the merchant ship. She considered a field. She girded her loins with strength and strengthened her arms. She laid her hands to the spindle. She stretched her hand to the poor. So it's describing all the things that she's doing. All right. She's a woman of power. She's a woman of strength. That's what virtue is. She's a powerful woman in that sense. She stretched her hand to the poor, as I said here in verse 10. She's not afraid of the snow. She maketh herself covering of tapestry. Her husband is known in the gates. She looks after her husband. She maketh fine linen. Strength and honor are her clothing. Again, it's talking about strength. You see how many times it's mentioned about strength? She opened her mouth with wisdom. Wow, when she speaks. Oh, that's awesome. She opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is a law of kindness. Wow. So verse 10 is the start of the verse. And the rest of the verse is expanding what that virtuous woman is all about. And but I love this one. She opened her mouth with wisdom, you know, and her tongue is a law of kindness. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Thank you, Shez, for that link. She looks well to her house, ways of her household, and her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. My gosh, imagine that, huh? She's not the one praising herself. She's getting praise from other people. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. And this, I think, you know, this, I think, taps it up for me. Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord. You could almost say, well, this is the pinnacle of her strength, because she fears God. What does it mean to fear God? Now, I've heard a lot of things said about fearing God, but and a lot of people say it is reverential fear. And I agree with that. But I don't think that's all it is. I think it's fear as in fear, fear, fear. You know, what God will do to you if we don't serve him. And so this woman, the easiest way I could describe this woman is she's a powerful woman. She's powerful in the sense that, and you can look at it, she's not lazy. She's not a layabout. And a lot of women, most women I know, are not layabouts. They're quite really powerful women. You know, they look well after their household. They do the best they can. Even single women, you know, I've seen it a lot. Single women are to be commended for the way that they go about doing what they need to do. I'm not saying that all single women have done a good job, But even those who have done a poor job, I've struggled through, some, sad circumstances, really. I'm not saying who's right from who's wrong, whether the man was wrong, the woman's wrong. Some women kick their men out, some men leave, and so on and so forth. But I've seen some women around me who have done some remarkable work, with very little. Remarkable work with very little. So could you imagine what they would have been able to do if they had had, much at their disposal? But she fears the Lord. She loves the Lord. She does what the Lord says. That, my friend, is the key. Is that virtuous woman is a woman that she's a no-nonsense woman. So you with me? She doesn't put up with foolishness, if you like, because she loves the Lord. She does what the Lord says. That's the crux of the foundation of this woman, is that she does what the Lord says and does it well. Thanks. Make sure that I am still alive. Yeah, yes, I can be heard. So so I thought I was showing the scripture, but I wasn't. But she's really a powerful woman, really amazing woman. I hope that makes sense, June. I hope that's well, thank you for that link, Sister Shez. And if everybody just copy that link and go to Shez's YouTube page, you get a few videos there, and no doubt you will be able to be blessed. And maybe one day Sister Shez will come on the show. And you want to come on now, Shez? You could come on now. I'll bring you on. If you got your phone, I'll bring you on. I could bring you on through Skype. So not Skype, sorry, through Zoom. So if you want to come on now, I'll bring you on. So let me know if you want to come on, and you want to then come and share some stuff. Good night, June. And I hope that answered your question. Well, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. And I love you lots. And I might be doing a lunchtime. I might be doing my lunchtime. I take my lunch breaks, half an hour every day. I'll probably come and chill out with you guys. What was that? Was that yes for June? You coming on? You coming online? Let me. Is that what you mean? Yes, or you're saying good night? I'm not sure what it is. Yes. I like that, Shes. No problem. I'll let you off. All right. No problem. Okay. The good thing about technology, when it works beautifully, and there are times when it doesn't. Well, good night to you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in to this subject tonight. I hope it was of benefit to you, and I hope that it will be a benefit to your family and friends and colleagues at work. So take care of yourself. Until next time, bye for now.